All right, let's dive into a story that's playing out all around us, often in silence. It's a story about how emotional wounds are formed, how they can shape an entire life, and most importantly, how the tough but totally worthwhile journey of healing can actually begin. This whole explainer really comes down to this one powerful idea. What if that emotional distance you see in a lot of men, what if it's not a choice, not a conscious decision to shut people out? What if it's more like they lost the key to a room inside themselves a long, long time ago? That one shift in perspective changes everything. So, to really get why these emotional walls get built so high, we have to go back. We have to understand the original wound they were designed to protect. And that wound, it almost always starts quietly, back in childhood, in a way that's so hard to see, let alone name. Now, this is a really crucial distinction to make. See, unlike other kinds of trauma where something bad happens to you, emotional neglect is about what doesn't happen. It's an absence. It's that quiet, steady failure of a parent to notice or respond to a child's feelings, leaving this void where there should have been connection. And look, this often happens without anyone meaning to cause harm. It could be parents who are just overwhelmed by their own problems, or maybe they just never learned how to handle emotions themselves. But for the child, the result is the same. They learn a really dangerous lesson. My feelings are a problem. They don't matter. I need to push them down. So what does the kid do? He adapts. He learns to perform. He becomes the rock, the problem solver, the one who never needs help. And that role, over years, becomes his entire identity. But man, does it come at a cost. With every year that goes by, that connection between feeling something and knowing how to talk about it gets weaker and weaker until it's almost gone. And that wound from childhood, it doesn't just fade away. Oh no, it echoes, loud and clear, all through a man's adult life. It creates these patterns that are just confusing and frustrating, not just for him, but for everyone who tries to get close to him. And these behaviors, they're not random. They're not flaws in his character. They are survival skills that he had to learn as a kid. But as an adult, they become huge roadblocks to real connection. Pushing someone away feels safer than risking being ignored again. Avoiding true intimacy is just easier than trying to explain feelings you don't even have words for. Now, when that inner pain and shame gets to be too much, some guys start desperately searching for answers. And sometimes they find them in places like the manosphere, these online groups that are often built on anger towards women and feminism. These places offer a sense of community, for sure, and they offer an explanation for the pain. But it's an explanation that's all about blame, not about healing. And this is where things can get really toxic. When that trauma is just left to fester, it can curdle into something like narcissism. The shame is so deep that the only way to feel okay is to make someone else feel small. The only way to build themselves up is by tearing their partner down. So, with all this internal pressure building up, men often find themselves standing at a huge fork in the road. And the path they choose right here can literally define the rest of their lives. It leads to two completely different ways of being a man. Okay, so this slide just lays it out perfectly. It's a choice. On one path, you have the architect. He takes all that inner turmoil and channels it into building something. He uses discipline, he focuses on becoming competent, stable, he's playing the long game. Then you have the other path, the incel. He takes his pain and aims it outward, he blames everyone else, retreats into anger, and swaps out self-reflection for resentment. And that path of resentment, well, it almost always involves seeing other people as objects. And as this quote points out, when you spend hours online treating people like things, it erodes your ability to feel empathy in the real world. It makes a genuine, selfless connection almost impossible. So this really forces a moment of truth, doesn't it? The core issue isn't about whether you care or not. It's about what you're doing with that energy and that pain. Are you building a life, or are you just building a case against the world? Because the path you're on right now, that's what's deciding your future. But here's the most important part. No matter what path someone has started down, it is never a dead end. Healing is always possible. It's not easy, not at all. It takes courage, it takes discipline, and it takes being willing to learn a totally new way of living in the world. So if you take one thing away, let it be this. This isn't about stubbornness. It's not a character flaw. It's a missing skill. It's like trying to navigate a foreign country without knowing the language. Healing isn't about trying harder. It's about learning that new language, the language of your own emotions. And this isn't just some abstract idea. These are real, practical steps that create a roadmap back to yourself. It's about finally giving that little kid inside you the compassion he never got. It means doing the consistent work of replacing that harsh inner critic with a kinder voice. And it means practicing, day in and day out, just naming what you feel. At the end of the day, this whole journey isn't about fixing yourself for somebody else. It's about rebuilding the most important relationship you'll ever have, the one with yourself. Once you create that solid, secure foundation inside, well, healthy connections with other people start to feel not just possible, but completely natural. And that brings us to this final thought, which is just so perfect. The goal here isn't to smash down the wall that a man has built. The real work, the beautiful work, is to gently help him remember that there was always a door. It's a process of rediscovery, of finding that long-forgotten path back to his own heart, and from there, back to the rest of the world.